1 in 3 drivers will get stranded at some point this year due to a no crank, no start situation. Your mechanic will tell you it's a $500 repair. However, 90% of the time, you can have it fixed for less than $20. I'm sharing the 9 most common causes and the easiest fixes for no crank, no start. If you don't find your solution until the last one, you could be facing an $8,000 nightmare. Here's the first culprit, responsible for 50% of problems. Number 1, corrosion hide and seek. According to AAA, the number 1 cause for a car not starting is a dead or dying battery. If you hear multiple, rapid clicks from under the hood, but the car doesn't start, that points to a dead battery. However, your battery might be playing possum, especially if you have corrosion on the terminals. That's the white, blue, or green powder on the terminals that's been staring at you for months. Because corrosion interrupts the flow of power, it can make a healthy battery look dead. So, before you fork over $200 for a new battery, try this restoration hack first. Make a paste of baking soda and water, then scrub the battery terminals with a toothbrush. Rinse it off with water, let it dry, then rub a bit of petroleum jelly on it. Once you're done, give your car a jump start and you'll be ready to roll. If this doesn't fix the problem, it's time for electrical detective work. Number 2, glitching switches. Imagine having to pay $300 for a job that takes 2 minutes and a part that costs less than $20. That's what gullible drivers do when they don't understand how cars work. Every vehicle relies on a series of fuses and relay switches to start. If any of these fuses blow or the starter relay is faulty or corroded, power won't reach the starter motor. Fortunately, this is also easy to diagnose and fix. Begin by locating the fuse box. Most cars have 2, one in the cabin and another under the hood. More than likely, what you're looking for will be in the engine bay. Identify the fuses related to the starting system. Swap that part out with another fuse with the same amperage. Do the same thing for the starter relay. Get the relay for something less important, like the horn or rear defroster. If the car roars back to life, you've just saved yourself a $300 tow and whatever nonsense the mechanic would have charged. But if your car still won't start, it means you've been breaking one of the cardinal rules of vehicle maintenance. Number 3, starter motor abuse. If your car has been struggling to start for a while, it's a sign that the starter motor is failing. You may have had to crank the car a few times, or it's been taking longer to crank. These are signs of a starter issue. It could also be a sign of vehicular abuse. Starter motors are built to last 100,000 miles. But bad habits like poor oil maintenance and coolant issues can cause premature wear. Once your starter stops responding, your mechanic will instruct you to drop $900 for a new one, but not so fast. What you need instead is a hammer. Yes, you heard that right. Grab a hammer, tire iron, or even a stone and tap the starter and solenoid a few times. This will loosen any dirt or corrosion that's preventing the starter from working. This isn't a permanent fix, as you'll still need to replace the starter motor. If the car still doesn't start, you're going to need a bit of luck for the next problem. Number 4, battered ignition. The ignition switch is designed to be almost indestructible. However, habits like driving with a bad battery or inserting wet keys during winter will cause premature wear. One sign of ignition switch issues is that when you turn the key, you don't hear anything, not a single crank. However, the lights and radio might come on. This could mean the ignition switch has worn contacts, so there's no electrical bridge to carry the current. If you've got a couple $100 lying around and your car is at least 2 decades old, you might as well get a new ignition switch. However, if your car is newer, this repair can set you back $500. Instead, try the wiggle technique. Insert the key into the ignition and turn it to the start position. Then gently wiggle the key up, down, left, right, and in and out slightly. The idea is to get the worn internal contacts to make a connection. Another method is to move between the on and start positions repeatedly. Turn the key to the on position, wait for 2 seconds, then rapidly twist to start. Repeat this a couple of times. This rapid movement can scrape past bits of corrosion in the switch. If you're still getting dead silence, the next option can cost you thousands in the wrong hands. Number 5. The gear shift confusion. A surprisingly common reason for your car not starting is that it is in the wrong gear. Or rather, the car thinks it's in the wrong gear. I'm talking about a faulty neutral safety switch, NSS. The NSS is a safety feature that ensures that automatic transmissions only start in park or neutral. But when it starts failing, it cannot detect the park gear properly. So put the gear in neutral and see if it starts. If it does, it means you have a failing NSS. Weirdly enough, I've also seen instances where the car only starts in drive. In that situation, you need to change the NSS immediately. But be careful not to get scammed. NSS repair is a simple job that costs about $250, and mechanics don't like that. Instead, they'll try to convince you to change the entire gear shift, which can cost up to $1,600. Don't be fooled. But if your car is still giving you the silent treatment, it could be a different safety feature that has gone haywire. Number 6. Aggressive countermeasures. Anti-theft immobilizers are designed to protect your car from thieves, and that can include you. If your car thinks you are an intruder, it won't start. When this happens, you'll see a dashboard warning light that looks like a car with a lock on it. The most common reason for this is a weak key fob battery or a wet fob. It can also happen if you're constantly dropping your keys. The immobilizer could also lock you out if you've changed the battery or if the car battery is weak. Key fob batteries cost about $5, so try that out first. By now, I assume you would have cleaned your car battery as instructed in the first step. If the car still doesn't come on, try the spare key. Otherwise, you'll need to reset the immobilizer by disconnecting the battery for 10 minutes. In the off chance that you're still stranded, you'd better hope it's not the next problem. Number 7. The gremlin problem. The average car has over 5,000 feet of wiring, which makes it extremely vulnerable to electrical faults. If any critical wire in the starting circuit is damaged, corroded, or simply loose, your car won't start. The most common source is the battery terminals. I talked about corrosion before, but a loose terminal will also prevent a proper flow. Make sure the terminals are clean and secured tightly. You shouldn't be able to shift the terminal with your hand. We're about to get into dangerous territory, so pay attention. You must begin by disconnecting the battery. Remove the negative terminal first, then the positive. Next, inspect the starter terminals. The positive cable runs from the battery to the starter, while a smaller signal wire runs from the ignition switch. These wires need to be clean, corrosion-free, and tight. Finally, inspect the ground wires. If the wire leading from the battery to the chassis is corroded, loose, or frayed, that is a major problem. To be sure, clean the contact points with a wire brush before reconnecting them. If this doesn't work, then you need to inspect a more complicated electrical labyrinth. Number 8. Brain freeze. Just like a human brain, the car's brain, the ECU can experience connection problems. When this happens, anything and everything can go wrong. This can happen if you recently changed a major component like a battery, sensors, or performance mods. When this happens, your car might not start, even though everything relating to the starter system is fine. It is difficult to tell if you have major computer system glitches without advanced diagnostic tools. However, before you hand over hundreds of dollars to a technician, try a computer reset. Simply disconnect the battery terminals for 30 minutes. This will drain the capacitors in the computer modules and wipe the memory. Think of it like a computer reboot. If that doesn't work, you're left with the most unlikely and the most expensive cause. Number 9. Engine catastrophe. This is the absolute nightmare scenario. In lay terms, a seized engine is a broken engine. It means that the internal components have locked up due to severe internal damage. This can be caused by a lack of lubrication, severe overheating, a broken piston, internal collision from a broken timing belt, or some other mechanical failure. Once an engine seizes, it is impossible for a starter motor to turn it over. If you hear a very loud clunk as you try to start the engine, it could be a sign that the engine is broken. This leaves you with two options: an engine rebuild or a brand new engine. Best case scenario, you're going to be out $3,000. However, a more realistic budget is $8,000. That's the price for ignoring basic car maintenance and safe driving habits. If you never want to end up in this situation, you need to watch this video: 17 secrets that make cars last forever.